back when Al King, the builder of the car, had all these 55 Chevys all over the place. He just got a title, stamped his own VIN tag, and stuck it in the door. And back then, that was a legal titled car. Like, he drove it all those years with a hand-stamped VIN tag on it. Here we go. My name is Gregg. I'm the owner and CEO of gzup.com, and this is my one-of-one custom 54 Chevy. The builder of the car, Al King, had a 54 Vet that was wrecked in an insurance claim. He ended up getting the car, and then since he had all these other 55 era vehicles, Chevys and Dodges and Cadillacs, he started to build a car with all the parts he had left over. So hence it's a 54 Corvette chassis with a bunch of Chevy GM parts on it. In doing what I do for some clients and friends, hunting classic cars, I found a listing on Craigslist. And the listing said, custom rare car. That was it. No description, no year, make, model, no photos. So after leaving him a couple voicemails, I kind of just dismissed it. I figured it wasn't going to be the car I get to see. So I went on about checking on with other cars. And then about a month later, I get a call from this gentleman. He said, hey, you left me a message, on this car I have for sale. And so his name was Cal. So I asked Cal, could you send me some pictures, through the phone of what it is? And he's like, well, I don't have really phone capabilities, and I don't have any photos I can send you. I don't even know how. So I'm like, oh, that's just making my adrenaline even worse to find out what this car is. He didn't have a lot of information on that, and he was hesitant on sharing it, which now after the fact I understand why. But he was hesitant on giving me that extra information. So after walking around the car, I realized that it had all these different parts on it. It had been channeled and sectioned and cut and welded and extended and stretched. And I just got more excited the more I saw it.
5, 6, 7 Chevy, all the way up into the 60s, the door has that squeak.
Right.
Every one of them squeaks. This is the only one that doesn't. The name of the shop is Vintage Auto Repair. We've been at this location for just about 10 years. I've been doing this pretty much all my adult life. Raised in a car background. Grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania. My uncle owned the local drag strip. My dad was a body man, so what choice did I have but to work on cars? And the vintage cars has always been my choice. In the shop here, we primarily work on cars from the very earliest cars, maybe up into the 70s. Some 80s stuff if it's something that's interesting. As Gregg was very optimistic, kind of wouldn't give me the whole story, just says, hey, I've got this car, and it's kind of special, and I had to kind of pull it out of him.
Yeah, I was keeping a few things close to the vest on our first introduction, just rightfully so. I didn't want to just put it out there on what I had, so we had to feel each other out a little bit.
Well, and what's funny about this car is that I've got a younger crew, and they don't get it. You got to be of an older age or a hardcore car guy to understand what this car's all about, because it's an oddball. It's unique, and I was all enthusiastic about it, and the guys were like, "What the heck is that thing?"
Okay, well, just in the front clip, obviously it's a 55 Chevy front end, but on the standard 55, the body line stops at the door. So this whole front clip has been extended, 8 or 9 inches forward to match the 54 Corvette chassis. And then the hood obviously has been modified to be the pancake hood to match kind of the Corvette style. So all of this right here, and this is actually the line where the hood would have been on a standard 55, but all this has been modified and fabricated. And actually Terry can chime in a little bit. We've been discussing what these lights are off of because they're not standard 55. So I think we're back and forth on 58.
It's a 54, 55 Oldsmobile backup lights.
Wow. That's where we're at.
And the way we found that is all these lights like this all have a date on them. It'll say guide, which the guide would tell us it's a GM product, and then the date. So from that point, I started doing some research. 54, 55 Oldsmobile. Looked at that. 54, 55 Cadillac. Kept going on, and then I finally found a NOS set on eBay. And there they were, the exact one.
Door is off of a 55 Nomad, and it also has a 55 Nomad drip rail. Believe it or not, the roof is a 55 four-door roof that's been sectioned. So this is a 55 front glass, this is a 55 four-door rear glass, and all this is sectioned together right here. So I mean, the work on the sectioning is just phenomenal. It's solid as can be. That was great. So to have 4 pages in a magazine back then was a big deal.
That was significant.
But this is Al King.
God, that hood's heavy. Because obviously we know it's 54 Corvette. And actually the chassis of the Corvette has also been lengthened 8 inches. And it's got the 54 Corvette dash and steering column, but that's where the Corvette part ends. The cowl of the car is 55 Chevy. The door, like Greg said, is 55 Nomad. The quarter panels are 50, they're either 56 or 57, I don't remember.
I'm under the assumption that the wheel openings are 57.
Okay.
But it's all in that same era
Right.
of Chevy.
And the rocker panel also is 57. It curves out where the 56 curved in. And then it comes back here, and this part is like probably a 55 or 6 Cadillac, maybe even a 53 Cadillac.
Yes, it is.
So he blended all that in, and then incorporated 56 Dodge station wagon taillights, which is even more unique.
And originally on the station wagon, the Dodge station wagon, the lights are at more of a 45-degree angle, but since they're kind of set at a 90 on the car, it has a whole different look to it.
This car is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And I agree with Greg, it'd be fun to see this thing with no paint on it, to actually see, because this car was way before Bondo, so it would have been all done in lead and hand filed, and it's just amazing. And there is something, we opened the hood here, there's something pretty unique about the car that also surprised me through our research and making all this happen. Somebody stole the hood prop. The car has no fan. And we're assuming that it never did have a fan because of how far back the engine is. You could put a fan on here, but it's not going to do any good. The engine is very low in comparison to the radiator. So I could do a fan, but it's going to be way back here. Even with an extension, it's not going to work. We could I suppose we could build a custom fan shroud, but initially, when this car was built, it had the Corvette Blue Flame 6. And then from Greg's research, it looks like maybe early 60s. Whatever happened with the engine, they put this 283 in there, and that's been in there ever since.
Then as we come through, the trunk actually is a 4-door trunk that's been cut down.
Yeah, the trunk has been shortened this way.
And this way. And then the Continental kit has all been hand fabricated. So, you know, all of it's just one of one in the back. The quality of the work, you look, I mean, even this car being so many years older, I mean, all the gaps are solid, all the latching mechanisms, the doors shut, the trunk shuts perfectly. The only thing that's not working right now is the hood spring, but we're already on that.
Gregg, authentic is the way to go.
Right? You can't go wrong.